Hey Bucks, welcome to the Centurion Webcast Issue 3. I'm filling in for Kevin York. I'm Laura Irwin.
I'm Jen Golding.
And here's your news. In an election special, our first page is who will pick up the pieces. George Bush is packing his bags and getting out of office, but what's the legacy he's leaving behind? Basically, according to all social science professors and interviewed students, he's leaving a huge debt and a disgraceful image of our country. Buck's government is already in office. SGA President John Scudris and Vice President Ravi Patel have a lot of action going on for this year, including International Day, and they're looking forward to developing a clubs council, trying to get students more involved in having club presidents or interested club members getting together and giving advice on how to up the interest at Bucks.
Student parking complaints continue. Every year this is an issue. Students believe that there's not enough parking and don't like to walk to the buildings, thinking that it's too far. However,
they certainly are lazy, Jen.
They certainly are. However, the administration disagrees, saying that there's plenty of parking and students are just way too lazy and just need to learn to deal with walking. Bump the election issue. Murphy and Mannion will be facing off in the congressional race for Pennsylvania's 8th district. Murphy is up for re-election this year. This is a very interesting race because Murphy is the only current U.S. congressman who is an Iraq war veteran, and Mannion was a Marine for 30 years, and also his son died last year in Iraq. Very sad. Murphy and Mannion will be holding two debates on October 15th and 29th. Furthermore, Buck students weigh in on Senator Joe Biden, Obama's current running mate. A lot of Buck students don't know much about him, but actually he's a native of Pennsylvania, born in Scranton. He graduated from the University of Delaware, received a law degree from Syracuse. He's actually run for president twice.
He lost.
Yeah.
Didn't even make it.
Nope. Many Buck students feel that they need to see more of Biden to see what he's really like. The vice presidential debate this year was interesting. Showed the true colors of this election's vice presidential candidates.
Sarah Palin's lapel pin was sparkly.
She seemed more confident than in previous interviews, maybe because of the lapel pin. She asked Biden if she could call him Joe in her folksy manner. Energy, global warming, foreign policy, these were all some of the issues discussed.
My dad's in the audience.
Really?
That's what she said.
Overall, it seemed that Biden won the debate because his dominant skill is his knowledge of foreign policy, so he was able to speak more freely than Palin, who often read off of notes. Locally, Buck's professors say that it's important to vote. They're stressing students need to examine the issues and form opinions. Doug Rosentrotter of the Social and Behavioral Science Department said that there's three issues of major importance: the economy, the war in the Middle East, and the fact that national healthcare system is approaching bankruptcy. Another Bucks professor, Mitch Bumpkin, weighs in by saying that when people lose lives for controversial reasons, it's important to believe that the war is the #1 issue in the upcoming election. Bob Barr is actually a third candidate running for president. Yep, most people haven't. He believes that we need to free up businesses and enterprise so we can start tapping into the huge offshore oil reserves.
We have some new developments in the smoking ban. Students are still smoking. Students are still smoking all over the place. Not only are students still smoking, faculty still smoking, safety and security still smoking. So there's that. Here's it. Stop it. You're killing yourself. But here's what has been happening. Signs have been put up saying that you can't smoke. And there are measures in place for what happens if you are caught smoking. Jen, guess what happens if you're caught smoking?
What happens, Laura?
I wag the finger at you. Stop smoking. So hopefully you'll learn your lesson. Actually, Matt Cipriano said that his punishment can be creative, having you write a paper on smoking cessation or picking up butts. But those are for the people that like to push the limits.
Is it worth it? I don't think so.
So there's that. There was a protest right outside here, outside the Fireside Lounge, of an employee, Ryan Weedley, who decided to grab a bunch of cigars and a bunch of people from Fireside and kick it on October 1 when the ban was enacted. He was right in the middle of the pathway. Of course, they said that it was away from the pathway. It wasn't away from the pathway. And I'd like to read to you a letter to the editor. I love it when people send us mail. It means that they're reading and they care about what goes into the newspaper. I suggest that all Buck students read. And just as an editor's note, due to the intended nature of this following letter to the editor, the Centurion has refrained from altering any part of the letter, including content, syntax, spelling, punctuation, capitalization, so that the author's purpose is clear and unobstructed. Dear Laura, let me begin by saying that after reading your columns, it comes as no surprise at all that almost every sentence, in fact, if it is a sentence, in the paper is structured incorrectly. Please do us all a favor and take a comp class or 6. You know, she'd be happy to know that I never took a comp class at Bucks because I passed out of it. Secondly, I wonder if either you or John Scudris has any idea that a story is supposed to be objective as opposed to subjective. I have a sneaking suspicion that this probably comes as news to both of you. It's a good point, unfortunately. I will not take the time to point out to you the numerous prejudices in the column profiling Joe Biden and Sarah Palin, but I will say that it is blatantly obvious solely from the way the biographical information is presented.
Another good point.
Yeah, she wonders who John's going to be voting for. Psst, it's Obama. Which she feels is another one of an example of many shortcomings. If you cannot manage to control your staff,
Just out of control.
or just don't have the time in between complaining about a concert and rambling on incoherently about the non-existent connection between brain function and Rascal Flatts, at least do your readers the courtesy of doing a little rewriting. Trust me, Rascal Flatts will wait. Do you know what that means? Me neither. Sincerely, Nicole Adler. Nicole Adler.
Dedicated reader.
P.S. I'm willing to bet a lot that this letter to the editor will not be printed. I showed you right, didn't I? At least not in paper and on Webcast. That's actually a relief to me, as I'm sure nothing would be as originally intended when you finished editing it. You should know, however, that the people I associate with, otherwise known as educated people, share my views. You may want to consider that before you print the next edition of the Dismal Centurion. Good point, Nicole Adler. Can someone get that guy smoking right by us?
I know what you're doing, that's why I'm not trying to interrupt. Back to the papers.
So let's go over to Chris Johnson, who wants to tell you about what's going on in interactive media. Chris?
Hi, I'm Interactive Media editor, Chris Johnson. Oh, and Laura, Rascal Flatts, we'll wait for you. Transfer, we got a lot of things going on. For example, in the student life page, we have transfer services, aids, and planning. This helps, transfer services help students aid transferring to other colleges, as the title indicates. You know, just so you need help getting there. Bucks is also celebrating the right to read. The bookstore is selling a lot of books, a lot of very well-known books. For example, Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, so on and so forth. It's really interesting stuff. You should all go pick up a book like that. We've also got stuff going on in the interactive media. We have Spore. It's a game where you play God. I can't emphasize that enough. You make a life form, you build it up, it evolves, you blow it up. That's it. It's a lot of fun. I think it is anyway. And now we're going to talk about the arcade that's been introduced to the upstairs near the cafeteria. It's all right. It doesn't get a lot of traffic. Most of the games are pretty overpriced for what they are. The most expensive game is a hunting game. Okay, I've barely seen anyone play that. The most played game is Street Fighter. Okay, it's a lot of fun, sure, but they need to update the games. 2 of them are broken 90% of the time, and 1 just got removed. So I think Student Life needs to find new games to add onto this. Well, that's all we got for interactive media and student life. I'm Chris Johnson. Stay classy.